Here we are to another Two Feathers Good Medicine show. We don't have Andrew for about half an hour. So with me tonight are my other feathers, Dale Tobin and Matty Waller. What we have been looking at between us for a long time is some of the big myths that are out there that light workers come up with. And we have had a lot of fun with this. And the reason we can do that is because all three of us have been light workers. We're now recovering light workers. I personally have had some very bizarre, very strange beliefs. I know Dale has, because we've laughed about it a number of times. I'm sure Matty has too. And we just like to have a look at those tonight, because we feel what happens is you start out on your spiritual journey, and we know often let's call it the New Age movement got hijacked, or the spiritual journey of many people got hijacked by the New Age movement, which leads you off down all sorts of paths, and they're paths to nowhere in the end. They are not self-healing, self-development, natural organic evolution paths. They could be paths of conspiracy. They could be paths that lead you to beliefs that, again, go nowhere and don't serve any purpose other than keep you entertained or keep you occupied. So we'd like to bring forward some of those paths, and we've seen a few of them. We've been down a few of them ourselves. So although, yeah, we're going to make fun of it, we're going to make light of it, we're going to flip the frequencies on them, please know we don't want to offend light workers. Everyone's on their own journey, but let's laugh at it, and let's remember that in all this, we are on self-mastery journeys. We're on self-healing journeys. And if we're going down any other route, we have to look at, is it serving us? Is it serving our own journey, our own development? So guys, let's have a look first. Who wants to bring up a topic? Let's go with one of the first things that comes to you that may have hit you when you were in that light worker mode, one of your beliefs.
Well, it might be a great idea before we go into the stories to what is light worker? What does it mean? Sure. That might be a nice dissection start them going into stories. So Matty, what is a light worker?
Ooh. So the funny thing is that it wasn't until very recently that the word light worker became a dirty word for me, because a light worker is not necessarily a dirty word. A light worker means something, and I guess you could say that I'm a light worker in certain ways, but it's just that it's one of those words, one of those terms that has been adopted and adapted and just thrown around all over the place. Working with light, a light worker, spreading light. Right, but what we mean when we say light worker is, it used to be, we had the term before, didn't we, a love and lighter, remember, because it was always love and light, and even I used to do it, sign off, love and light, love and light, Matty. Cringy, but it is what it is, and I felt really good about it at the time, and obviously that path led me to where I am today. So I'm not going to knock it too much, but when we talk about a light worker, we're talking about a type of person who is either new or not new to spirituality, because some people get stuck in this rut for a very long time. But people who get, let's say, a quarter of an inch into spirituality and stay there because it feels good. And they've got all kinds of words, all kinds of clothes, all kinds of meetings that they go to, all different kinds of music that they'll listen to, all kinds of ways that they interact, but nobody's actually practicing advanced spirituality. It's like a fashion, basically. Or it could be somebody who is stuck in a big giant rut of light.
And so from my understanding of light worker, I wasn't familiar with the concept until I did my angelic Reiki 1, 2 and the masters in that, and I saw someone on Facebook and they had the usual, well, a lot of light workers do this, and I didn't have it specifically, but it says, like, what do you do for a job? Light worker at planet Earth. And I remember back then in 2013, and I was like, wow, what the fuck is that? And then I looked into it more and more, and I was like, well, maybe I am a light worker. Then I kind of went down thinking that it was my duty to spread the light. It was my duty to change people. And so my concept of light worker, and for me back then, was I felt like I was picked to be a light worker, and there was only a few of us on this planet. There was an instant gratification and an egotistic essence about being a light worker, which I liked back then. So for me, light worker was about being a worker, thinking I was doing great on the planet and being able to battle against the darkness. That was my first understandings of it. Laura, do you want to expand on your what was light worker for you?
Yes, cringeably. Myself as a light worker, I was very much on a mission. Oh, I was on a mission to, like you, to spread love and light, unasked for. Just send it out there. Claim the glory for healing things or people. I don't think I listened very well either. I thought I had a right to be heard. It was very ego driven. I would get into arguments on Facebook defending the light. So I think I was very agenda driven. So whereas now, let's say we're all on our like self-mastery or shamanic path, we strategize. As a light worker, I was agenda driven, and that was very much to get my point across, and I must be right because I'd read it online. And again, you know, I was handing or giving my power away to somebody else's opinion. And we've discussed this before, you know, I went very much down the zealot path like you did. So it ultimately you realize it's not serving anything other than fueling more light workers. So shall we look in depth at some of the beliefs that light workers hold that's out there? Okay, it's out there in the light working industry.
Simple ones.
Let's start with simple ones. And what comes up for you straight away then, Matty?
So that you've got to save the world, that you're here to save the world, and you're special, you're way special than everyone else, and that you're here to save the world. Complete martyrdom. That's the first one, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a funny one that actually probably turns out to be true eventually in the end.
It is. So I think connecting to that would be the aspect of us, which for me, it kind of like my ego blew up, and I thought I was special, and I thought I did have hierarchy. I had hierarchy among other people, and it was all about labels. It was all about how far of the journey, how shiny are your crystals? How many crystals have you got? All of those aspects of being obsessed with crystals as well. I went through that journey of buying crystals all the time and not really respecting them for what they were doing. And it was just all about instant gratifying me. I think I went through about 10 Moldavites, and I had this obsession with Moldavite because I thought it was so powerful I was going to ascend or something, but that was a bit of a joke. But there was those aspects we need to be aware of when we come down this path of spirituality, because they are soul shards, and we can even create soul shards being a light worker or create our own trauma. For me, I didn't listen to many people, and that was the hardest thing for me looking back then, and all the work I've done to that person now was listening. One of the main things with light workers is they're not able to listen to people. No. And before, even when they start listening, there's a judgment. And even if they don't agree with their shit, they're going to get pissed off. They don't hold the same view as them. And I was the same people. If people had different views of me, how dare they? Like my view's right, and so on. And you'll see it left, right, and center on comments. You know, you get those people on Facebook who are just light worker trolls. Yes. They're basically waiting for you to post anything. And I've got rid of all the fuckers now that they're not on my Facebook. But I used to have the various light workers who used to comment on my shit and not agree with it and start basically trying to have a little battle with me. And those are some aspects which I've dealt with as well. Anything you want to add to that, Matty or Laura?
Yes. So There's also another, this is, we say this tongue in cheek, and the reason that we can say it all is because we've been there. So another characteristic of a light worker would be that they're a Reiki master. They go to ecstatic dances. They call themselves funny names, don't they? Right. There's a thing about what we're talking about is a type of personality that goes from place to place to place to place to place to place to place, having all of these different experiences and all of these different things without actually focusing inwards, without actually looking internal. And that's what it is over there at Facebook, the same sort of thing. So, where somebody has all of these predetermined opinions in their mind. And so it's no different than anybody else. If you go onto any other sites and you've got the other trolls that just start hitting everybody with hate, even though you're doing it and you're saying love and light at the end of it, and what you're saying may be something that you feel is valid and moral, it's about the deeper parts of spirituality, understanding when you're stepping on somebody's journey and when you're not, when to put your opinion forth and when not to, when to shut the fuck up, or when to be a student or a teacher. And this is another massive light worker thing, is that they all want to be teachers straight away. They all think, they can go away and do a course. You can go and do this is the thing that I see a lot. So people that will go away and they'll do a 5-day course in Reiki. And so then they'll start practicing Reiki on people. Then you'll get people who've done a 6-day course on this, and then they'll start doing that on somebody without actually realizing that the journey towards mastery is an ever-evolving journey that takes place over many years. And that's not to say that you shouldn't learn Reiki and then practice Reiki, because otherwise how are you going to develop in Reiki? But it's the mentality, the light worker mentality, the idea that I'm absolutely untouchable, nothing can get to me. Light shines out of my arse, and everybody that I touch, all their entities disappear instantly. That's not true. It takes hard work.
And that's it. And I've experienced that specifically. I remember.
Me too.
So I trained in Reiki basically, and I became a teacher before I was ready. I did it, but I got to the point where I started doing ceremonies and events, and there was about 20-30 people turning up, and I got to the point where I was avoiding so much shit within myself, and I was putting on this false pretense of who I was. I had problems with addiction. I was addicted to certain things. I'd stop it for a few years and I'd go back into doing that and going down that route. And I was just lying and lying and lying to myself. And you see it on Facebook as well. I was there, the people who post loads of spiritual shit about this and that in a picture, and they think that's a spiritual work. The instant gratification's there. And I've been there of putting a picture of, I don't know, Saint Germain or various different beings or whatever you want to put on there. But I've had it where I've had sessions with people, and on Facebook, they look like they do loads of work and they do all this stuff.
Yes.
But you ask them, what work do you do on yourself? And they're like, oh, fuck, I meditate.
Facebook.
And Facebook. And
yeah,
I've specifically been there, and I've been blocked from my own self being able to experience that. And I got to the point where I hit rock bottom, really. And I had sessions with Andrew, and I was doing really well. Then all of a sudden just built up, and I just gave up. I went, you know what? It's too much. I'm obsessed. I was obsessed, and so on. So then I realized, and a lot of people listening won't realize this, which I realized, it's important to have a day off. It's important to have time off, to fully switch off from being spiritual. And that one fucking simple thing changed my whole reality. I was like, what? I can have a day off. I can switch off from this shit. Like, it was just a constant drive, and this kind of, I'd say military. I had a lot of military past life and warrior stuff coming through with control and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to add.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, Matty, go on.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's change the narrative slightly, and let's go back, us three, in our minds, to 2013, 2014. Okay, I want you to remember what was going on, what you were consuming. Okay, because this was the golden age of the light worker, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
2012.
So
yeah.
The myths of the light worker. One of the main things then was that the ascension is coming, and it's going to happen in an instant, and that everyone's going to ascend into higher consciousness all at the same time. Right? That was the fundamental basics of it, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. And then everything else after that was people arguing over how that was going to happen and when it was going to happen. So did you have anything like that, Laura? And I'll tell my story, and it's quite a story as well. You know, I actually put a lot of effort and energy into some of that bullshit.
Yes. Yeah. Well, mine was there on the what was it, 2012. So, you know, going to a group meditation that night, and then expecting to wake up the next day and things would have changed.
But truly believing
a
it.
A friend and I at the time were looking out and saying, oh, I don't know, the light seems different, the colors seem more vibrant, things have changed so much, you know, we can see the changes, just totally kidding ourselves. And I was I mean, it is cringeable now when I look back, but I was just so full of ego. You know, related to it really did start about that time. It's like, I only have one truth, like we discussed just now. You know, there's only one truth, and I've got it. And if you're not listening to this truth, then you've got the wrong truth, rather than accepting that what's true for you is what's true for you at this moment in time. So I remember soon after 2012, I was feeling that something must have happened to me. This is about the time you're talking about, Matty, about 2013, 2014. And I used to go to sacred sites, and I'd just done a sort of a ceremony on a sacred site. And there were these two just ordinary guys walking across this sacred site. And I stopped them and I said, I've just had a word with the ancestors, and you have safe passage across these lands.
They must have thought you were the local crazy woman. Where's her cat?
I mean, that is just so embarrassing, but that is honestly what I believed of myself at the time. I thought, because I have spoken to the ancestors here, they'll be fine. I don't know what would have happened to them on the South Downs in England on a normal weather, everything else day, if I hadn't have said that. But that's the extremes that you go to on these ego beliefs. And you feel so much that you are doing the right thing. I know that is part of the journey, and it really just making a right twit of yourself. But at the time, it's what you believe. And I suppose you could say you're doing it with good intention, but there was no self-work going on at that time, because I didn't come across Andrew till 2013, 2014. And he's the one teacher out there who is actually talking about self-work, about self-healing, about self-investigation. And that, as we know, that turned things on its head for me.
And how long, what is it, the solar flash, that was it, which has been coming each year. And I remember the Mayan calendar ended in 2012, and I used to go around telling people that story and saying that the solar flash is coming and there's change coming, and there'll be a currency reset. And I used to go out my way to tell people that you do know this is happening, and it's kind of like in a dictating way of trying to force information. It didn't feel right at the time. Then I remember moving on to the first time I listened to Andrew's material. It was the first time I ever had resistance, because I was like, I kept thinking of myself like, holy fuck, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing with that? He's talking me and pulling me out of my bullshit. And
Yes.
it was great to have that as an authentic teacher. And what Andrew teach, everybody can do, and everybody can master at the scale and size in which we work at. Because for me, what got me onto the greater journey of listening, when I go back to the start, when I said I didn't listen, was time, dedication, and effort, and enjoying making the journey fun, not being obsessed with it over a period of time, where I was able to kind of chip away at it slowly and slowly and slowly. And to the point where we talked about with this, Matty and Laura, self-illumination comes. You get that repetition with self-illumination. At the start, I hated it. I got obsessed with it, and I had that day off, and I kept going and diving into what was wrong with me. And that day came, the repetition with illumination came, where I was fucking enjoying it. Every minute I put in those 6 days a week to myself, I fucking loved it. It wasn't a chore anymore. and I was really committing to myself on a deeper level that I've never done before. And I've never really loved myself in that way. And I had to be honest with myself. Did I love myself in 2012, 13? Did I fuck? I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my capacity to be who I am today. And over the years of giving that discipline and effort, we can move away and be a recovering light worker. Like I said the other day as a joke when we went to the takeaway with my kids, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm on the 12th step now of the program. I feel like my light working program's like switched off.
Let's have a look at there's been some very bizarre light worker beliefs out there, haven't there? Like Nibiru, is it Planet X
Yes.
hitting the planet?
What it generally is there will be something that has a basis of truth, and then it will just get light workered all over, and then it will become weaponized, basically. So this is what you could actually say. We're saying light worker. We used to say love and lighter, but we've changed it to light worker now because things have changed, things have evolved and grew, and the terminologies do as well. So it basically what a light worker is someone who's allowing spirituality to be weaponized against them. Is that right? Weaponized against you, So yeah. Anything like Nibiru was real, it still is real, but it's not what it's been claimed to be. Now, one of the parts of it that people don't seem to get is some of the information. Do you remember the Galactic Federation of Light and all of those channelings?
Yeah.
Now, what happened in my journey was it was 2012 when I began to experience more layers of the reality, and it happened quite quickly. And so I was exposed to the unseen world before I got the teachings. So when I was reading that information, what would then happen is my channel would be hijacked. My whole stream would be hijacked. So by reading these messages that seemed to be all about love, light, the ascension, codes coming in and barriers breaking down and certain crystal grids and all kinds of stuff like this, all these words, but it actually created a form of haunting within me where it gave direct access for different versions of AIs and other off-worlders and other forms of entities, and also obviously the ego, the sympathetic, parasympathetic, to completely override my journey. And that's where the hopium part came in, because I would always be chasing my tail, and always believed that I was waiting for something to happen, that something was going to happen before I could be happy. Something was happening before I was going to be a master or into my mastery. The idea of it taking 10 years for the ascension to happen was unbelievable to me. It was almost like a trauma.
And that's it. I felt with that channeling, I did the same. I was just convinced I wanted to find out who I was, what planet I was from, and all those ascended master names. I remember I used to buy pictures of different ascended masters on the wall and give my power away to a lot of them. And all I was focused on was an external being. All I was focused on was where the fuck am I from, instead of actually being and learning to be who I am, feeling authentic, enjoying my life, actually enjoying life. For me, it kind of, my life and then the funness of life kind of went to the side, and all of this light worker programming, it felt like a shard, a soul shard, something which wasn't my I am presence, making those choices for me. And every single little bit of stuff I did for the light worker, it was feeding it until the point I got, obviously listening to Andrew in the first show, where he started to, I noticed all my shit, like even the stuff with porn and stuff like that. I was like, what the fuck? What's he on about there? I was like, that's not normal. And I remember getting triggered by it. And I was like, no, you can't be on about, I'll just ignore what he said then. Then there'd be another part which would trigger me. Then it would just continue on until I got to the point where I need to fucking listen, because I'm starting to see some patterns here, which I need to kind of go into. Anything you want to add to that, guys?
Yeah, well, I had, my experience was more like, I listened to the teachings, but only certain amounts of them would actually get through, because my Lightworker programming was so strong that it would actually jumble what Andrew was saying, and I would then use it to validate my Lightworker bullshit. No, rather than it being used to see through the bullshit, I used it to validate the Lightworker bullshit, to the point where I actually went on the run from the police across Wales, believing that if I stayed out long enough, Ascension would happen. I wouldn't have to go to prison.
Wow.
Hi, Andrew.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
But it was always the idea that
Good.
that all of my problems were caused by something external, and that something external was going to save them. There was no actual self-responsibility involved, and certainly no long-term plan.
Which is the main motto of the Lightworker. Give responsibility away to everyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you get that as a fundamental, you can realize how easy it is to fall into Lightworker programming.
Yeah.
You know, before you were talking about using the teachings to validate your Lightworker side. Man, when I have to debate with clients who are so snow job by themselves and try to use my teachings against me, I take it personally. I do. I really do. I de-weaponize this shit on purpose. There you go, weaponizing it.
Yep.
And that's it. And I feel, going back to what we talked about at the start as well, the listening aspect. I remember Andrew asked me the other week, as if you asked your self 2013 self, if you were telling them what you know now, would they listen? And they wouldn't. And it's hard because there's that understanding that they will not listen, no matter what you try and say to them or any angle you have at them, they will not listen. And that's was the understanding I've got about letting people go and not being trying to change people's perceptions. And yeah.
See, what I learned about myself, there was moments that I could get through and I would listen, but I had to strategize. When I mean, if you think about your Lightworker self, there was always moments in any given day something would get through.
Yes.
If you were to strategize and your old self, when would be the time of day to get to you, or what would be the structure to get into yourself?
Probably maybe having one beer or just winding down in an evening. I don't know.
Yeah. Maddie, what about for you?
What you mean? When would I be vulnerable?
Yeah. To your own self. To your own selves.
To my own selves. It's when I was trying to make something happen that I wanted, or when I'm looking to something that I think that's how my life needs to be in order for it to be going in the right direction.
Okay, Laura, what about for you?
When I felt I was in a mystical moment.
Okay. And you could enter yourself, talk to yourself, and you could hear your own self.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard me say, go back to your old selves and show them the proof of who you are? How
Yes.
hard is that to really do?
Yeah, you've got to capture how you felt at that time. You've always said to me, go back to how you felt when you were first on the journey, the joy it brought you, the mystical experiences it brought you, and how you felt at that time. And you've got to recapture that energy again.
That's right.
And that's what outcreates it, isn't it?
Yes. So what did I miss for the first half hour?
Go ahead. So we're talking about what Lightworker meant at the start. So what's your definition of what a Lightworker is? And Andrew, we've gone, Laura said, Matty said, what would you class as a Lightworker? Just the word Lightworker.
It's a derogatory term in my view. And it has always been a derogatory term. But unfortunately, people's inner Fox News propaganda lines can convert it into something completely different. And unfortunately, it's spiritual propaganda we believe in. That's what I see it. It's propaganda, spiritual propaganda that gets us to believe in a cause, but not do anything for yourself. Get out there and march for no reason. Rebel without a cause for no reason. And light workers, they wear it like a badge of honor. You know, I come up with these sayings, don't smell the mouse fart next door. They love stiffing every mouse's butt everywhere they go. They take pleasure out of it. They have a red badge of empathic courage. I survived the empathic storm 99 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. I've survived every years of psychic storms. You didn't need to ever go through any of that. Could have just turned it off.
That was a big one. Corey Good had something to do with that, because he was talking about being an empath as his role in the Secret Space Service. And then everybody jumped on that. I'm an empath. I'm an empath. I'm an empath. And it was Andrew, the first one to say, being an empath is the lowest form of psychic skill. And it just hit, and it's connected to narcissism. So it was just perfect.
The amount of times I was 20, 12, 13, I always said to someone,
I'm an empath.
Can't go out in big groups. I'm too empathic. That was always my thing. I was like, oh no, these people don't do any spirituality. Ego driven.
There's so many entities.
Yep.
Yeah, can't cope with the energy. I have people say that to me now.
But guess what? If you can't cope with the energy, that's what you should be working on in your life.
Exactly. Exactly. We're here to learn to cope with the energy. But I think there's a lot with that badge of courage. It's like claiming glory. I brought this up earlier on. We get ourselves on, light workers get themselves on missions, don't they? Yep. They get zealoted.
And unfortunately, mission agenda-based spirituality is not spirituality.
No. Well, there's nothing sacred.
You should not be doing missions, attacking the Pope, attacking this, attacking anything that's a mission that is meant to disrupt, disable, or dismantle other systems is not a positive thing for everyone.
No.
Okay? And unfortunately, you have these huge groups of teachers that encourage people to take up missionary objects, not missionary as a religion, mission to mission to mission. I'm going into this evil place and poking the dragon in the eye. I'm going to wake up all the demons and say, bring it. And they're all going to be like, huh? We got to fuck this one up good.
What happens, Dale, when you poke a reptilian in the eye? You know.
Oh shit. Do you want me to tell you that story? So back in 2012, when I wasn't fully equipped with and everything, I was doing angelic Reiki, and there's a reptilian being like staring at me, and I shut my eyes and I kept seeing it. So I poked it and it blasted me so hard, and it fucking really hurt. It was like an internal blast, and that was kind of a huge teaching and lesson for me about being responsible and being responsible for who I was. And back then I had all sorts of open stuff I wasn't dealing with, or I wasn't being honest about myself with. So yeah, that was my reptilian story of poking the reptilian in the eye and getting blasted.
And I'd heard a story about a woman who she was a practice shaman, and she was very good at doing, I forgot what they call it now, gazpacho or something like this. It's a
soup, a cold soup.
No, not cold soup or gazpacho. It's a South American where you lay out a ceremonial objects and you slowly wrap it in a ceremonial fashion, and you clear the energy in a certain place. But anyway, there was and this is someone who'd practiced for many, many years, and it was in a house, and there was again, we're talking about a reptilian influence in this house. And this lady just could not finish this process, this clearing, this ceremony. Because let's face it, you need to have awareness of what you're doing, don't you? Yeah, you absolutely need to have awareness of it. And if you're just butterflies, unicorns, and rainbow farts, then you don't have awareness of all the different shades of gray that are around you. So how can you function with them?
Right. What does a unicorn fart do to a reptilian?
Absolutely nothing.
That might make him cough.
Him.
Yeah, maybe.
Might make him go.
I was going to say tickles him.
That's a little too much French vanilla for me.
Beans.
What is kicking the demon in the balls going to do?
Make him angry.
Okay. Does it hurt him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So why do light workers want to make demons, ballless? Vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the unfortunate side of mission work. It subtly becomes playful vengeance and not real spiritual work.
Yeah.
And on the unfortunate ability about playful vengeance, it sneaks up onto you like temptation. And the next thing you know, the humiliating of the demon is you're no different than what it does to you.
Mm-hmm. Even though I do smash demons. It's
Me
something
too.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
also don't take extreme dopamine pleasure out of it.
No, it's just a
Sometimes
simple
I do.
Well,
But I know I'm not taking vengeance.
yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah, sometimes it's for me quite a lot. It is just pleasure out of my work. Just the fact that, man, look how good I am at this. You know, you guys thought you could do this,
right?
Yeah, you guys thought you could do this, and now check this out.
Yeah, watch this.
Yeah,
exactly. Like one time I was trying to do some work on myself, but I know I needed someone else to help me get further down and describe, and this thing had kept entering my consciousness. And I'm like, I grabbed it literally by the tail, okay? And I exposed it to everything that was positive and beautiful into the universe for what it is. And I went out to 5 degrees of separation, 10 degrees, 20 degrees, until I went out to 10,000 degrees of separation and fucked with its head so bad that it's being exposed in 10,000 degrees of separation. At that point, it just fled my reality for the implications of what was coming, that I exposed it into 10,000 degrees of separation.
Brilliant.
That's like 7 universes wide.
Yeah.
How many people have you fucked with in these 7 universes? They all know where you're at right now.
Yeah. Everybody look.
Yep. That was a whole different way of dealing with anything that wants to fuck with you that's got higher consciousness behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So we were saying earlier, Andrew, that it is a myth when people believe that they are untouchable.
Absolute myth. Everyone is fully touchable, gropable, and fuckable if you want. If the entity wants to.
On each different dimensions,
bend you over.
It
can bend you over when you're not knowing you're bent over and enter you from the backside, and you never know you're getting butt raped.
Yeah, give you a wedgie, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yes.
And each different level of awareness.
Wedgies block demons.
Yeah. Each different level of awareness that you move to, and there are some levels of awareness that people out there that would consider themselves light workers have no concept of. But each level of awareness that you get to, you know, that there's a whole plethora of ways to fuck up, trip up, give your power away, and be open to attack. It doesn't matter how high up the scale you go, how big you think you are, how many skills you have. There's always a way to fuck up.
That's right. And fuck up, monumental fuck up.
Know it because I've done it over and over.
Me too. I've had my
why-
share of monumental fuck ups.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's why it's a continual self-education, self-learning journey, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's that light workers tend to think something is done with. They've done that, and therefore they don't have to do it again, rather than understanding it's a continuity of the sacred self-work.
Mm-hmm. Everything dovetails into the next level, and what you learn from one level absolutely applies into the next levels.
Yes.
And if you don't learn everything you're supposed to learn from one level, you're not actually gaining in levels.
Mm.
And if you're polarized, which is pretty much the word light worker means you work only in the light. I mean, that phrase itself means working only within the light, doesn't it? I mean, you know, you could obviously translate it however you want, but the light isn't the answer. It's one perspective.
It isn't the only answer, right?
That's right. That's right. It's one perspective. And if you can only see one perspective, you're never going to get a broader picture. This is why these types of characters remain in a cyclical process of the same level of awareness, just moving from subject matter to subject matter to subject matter.
Yeah, from distraction to distraction to distraction.
Never actually
That's
growing.
Why curiosity learning is such a detriment to humanity right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I remember when Spirit was giving me the next level of instructions in 2014 to 2015. Like, seriously, I gotta explain that shit to them.
and what people
gotta get them to do that.
What people were like around that time, we were just talking about that 2013, 2014. There's no way you're going to get those teachings across.
But I did. They're all there.
Yeah,
they're all there in space and time. So something else about light workers in general. It's so easy to wear the uniform of a light worker. Okay. And what is the uniform? I am doing it for everyone else.
That's the first thing we said.
Me. Be damned me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm saving the world. I'm saving the planet.
Yeah.
There's only one way to do
And
it. That's my
nothing
way.
can stop me.
No. That's it. And I'll tread all over your journey.
Exactly. Because you have no journey, because your journey is my journey. And I will do your journey for you. No, you won't. Bitch, get out of my way. It's my journey.
A question for you, Andrew. So say the Lightworker itself, is it a soul shard, or is it an aspect of maybe like a past or something coming through and kind of using that as the, or what's the kind of mechanics of it as a shard, or is it something we kind of create in this lifetime?
Say that again.
So say the Lightworker side, because I felt when I was in my Lightworker mode, I felt a lot of military stuff coming through and a lot of military essence within me with how I was as a Lightworker. Does it connect to soul shards and being a Lightworker for people? Like when they are the Lightworker, they're just expressing that shard.
Yes, it does. So the military energy is really the country that you grew up was going to enforce that into you. Well, you were really big into World War II when you were real young.
I wasn't, but I played Call of Duty when I was a bit older.
Okay, so you had your journey into that
Yes.
into that process.
I loved Call of Duty with my face as a kid.
Good. So ultimately, when it comes to those shards that are militaristic, it's what's driving you into the zealot's path. To stay zealotous. One way is the only way. And if there's only one way, it's going to make me real easy. I don't have to learn 10 ways. That's the other insidious part of the Lightworker. Gets you trapped into that zealot mode because their one way is going to work.
And you learn something and instantly want to teach it.
That's right. Regurgitation, teaching without ever processing. You take it into your stomach. It just begins to process. Bleh, you vomit it right back up. And you don't swallow it again to process the rest of it. Regurgitated teachers.
Yes. And I've noticed that. Sorry, Laura, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you do sort of like the sound of your own voice at that stage, don't you?
Yes.
Because I've been there very
guilty.
Yeah,
yeah, I did that. I did that but for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this, even though you don't want to hear it. I'm going to tell it to you anyway. Because I like hearing myself.
And then the next one, and then the next one.
Yeah, because it makes me feel good. It actually feeds me to tell you this.
Craziness of what the Lightworker drives you to do.
What about more advanced Lightworkers? Because the interesting thing is that it does continue even when you begin to gain the levels of awareness and the certain skills and techniques, it can still creep in. One thing that I found myself doing was constantly asking my guides for advice. And when I had a problem, something that obviously was not a problem, it was something that I needed to work through, something I needed to experience, I would be asking my guidance to speak to me and to give me in a clairaudient format the answers to what I'm looking for and what's the outcome going to be. And if I didn't like the first one, I'd rephrase it and ask again, and then rephrase it and ask again. And I was actually getting the information coming through, and it was like there was a field that they just could not come through. But then it opened up to any nefarious entity that wanted to come in. I mean, what's the mechanics there, Andrew? Is it your guides just go, right, you know what, just let him have it because he's not fucking paying attention?
So we run into a very different process there. When one begins to abuse the guide for information, they're no longer your guide. That's why it's hijackable. And there's a fine line where the guide is going, stop, 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 or you're going to get hijacked until they're hijacked, even if it's just by an internal program in you that is aware that it's just got hijacked, which might bid away to external sources. because many of your internal sources work with external sources and they haggle all the time for control. You get me this entity, I'll make sure you get 2 hours a day with his girlfriend. Okay? And you better make some misery for us. Okay? Because if he isn't miserable, we ain't going to control him.
Yeah.
I need you to make sure his foot goes in his mouth a dozen times during that 2 hours, or you say something that's not supposed to happen, so on and so forth. So they often contract and haggle. So when you ask your guide for everything, it just says you don't believe in yourself. You have no trust in yourself, and doubt has beaten out your willpower.
Yeah.
And I remember the violet flame, I use it not often now and then, but the overuse of the violet flame, that was a big one in the light working days, where every day just violet flame. Go ahead.
I still get people asking me, what do you mean by burning things out with the violet flame? Oh my God, you were never around in 2014? Every light worker in the world was running around with a violet flame, torching every building, every entity, anything that was energy, they were hosing it with a violet flame like napalm in Vietnam. Okay, they've scorched earth, everything.
And then there's
it became a habit.
They were Saint Germain.
Yeah, they all thought they were Saint Germain.
I remember you said that. I think one of the last times I spoke to you, and you on like a set, like kind of like a session atmosphere, was you'd asked me to use a violet flame. I remember one of my light worker like memories came. I was like, oh fuck! Remember this one, like 2012.
There's a lot of people who have gotten over paranoia, but not over the copium mechanisms paranoia is created. Copium, like hopium, is you're sucking on a mechanism to give you the ability to cope with it, but it doesn't actually give you the ability to cope with it. It's placebo. And oftentimes it's the sugar pill that doesn't work. And that's when you take massive ego hits from hijacked entities.
Yeah.
When you know it, you knew it from day one, and you're like, I can't be bothered.
So another format of light workerism is gurus and teachers. So for me, a light worker is someone who has stepped out of the narrative into spirituality, but is applying their spirituality as if it's the narrative. So you see a teacher who has 250,000 followers, that validates that teacher for you. And so everything that teacher says, you hold on to. And how many different teachers have there been over those years? I mean, there was, I don't want to go really naming and shaming, but there was the macabre guy, right? He was a big one.
Which one?
The macabre guy.
I don't remember him.
Melchizedek.
One of the many
Drunvalo.
Yeah. One of the many.
Yeah. I didn't want to name it directly.
The many iterations of that ideology. Yes.
Yeah. And there were so many different teachers and all these other teachers now. And again, I don't want to just name and shame, but any of the ones that have Indian clothing or dots on themselves or you know, and they just
the bearded. I call them the bearded morons.
Yeah. And it just seems to be. I've had conversations with people who are in this light worker state, that everything seems to be gentle and beautiful, and it almost looks blissful from the outside looking in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fluffy kittens.
There isn't.
And so what's the implications of these kind of teachers then, Andrew? What's actually going on in the unseen world of somebody who is heavily investing into a teacher that isn't bringing actual wisdom?
Well, you're talking to somebody who has had all that projections put onto me.
Yes, exactly. It's a unique question.
So when it comes to the non-teacher teacher, unfortunately, a big majority of them don't practice their own work.
Right.
They teach it, but they don't practice it. Now, I have been in that situation where, what is my practice? Practice what you preach what you practice, so on and so forth. And to the point it's innate in me. But I'm also creating new practices and new techniques because I know the old ones can easily be overrun if I don't give them the actual effort to update what's going on around me, part of the ever-growing process, which then creates teachers who have karmic attraction to Joe Blow, Jane Blow, whatever it is going to be, but that karmic attraction can be to be the false teacher, the faux teacher, the faux practitioner, which then carries on this crappy Lightworkers situation and virus that we got going on. And in those spirit worlds of those fake teachers, or the ones that create a story that has no truth value to it, you know, I don't want to name names, but there was, fuck it, I don't give a fuck no more.
Yeah, go on, say it.
You remember Og?
No.
No.
He believed he was a fake human being in a physical body.
Oh yes, I remember that guy. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Bite my damn tongue off. I heard this guy speak for the first time. I'm like, huh? People are believing the shit coming out of your mouth?
Yeah.
No way. What was his special thing? What was made him special? It's just a story you hadn't heard before, and he was entertaining you.
Mm-hmm.
He was an entertainer. But he believed his own stuff. He literally believed his own stuff. Yet there wasn't a validation of truth in the Akashic record to it. Nothing. Totally made up in the moment. And he believed, because he had created this altered personality, that it wasn't him saying this stuff, which gave him the right to accept creating it as creating it for what it was. Okay, there are many others out there that are exactly the same thing. Their desire to be famous put them in a situation where they gained fame through falsities. And we see this all the time spread throughout history. And oftentimes they end up having some of the worst things go wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
Divorces, jail time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Or worse, they keep going and going, and the audience gets bigger and bigger, and they have more and more responsibility. And the audience gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like the Secret guy. That was all bullshit from the beginning.
Yeah.
Everybody already knew what the Secret was. Yeah.
And so how about, I'm not going to name a name, but there's one very famous spiritual teacher that I've been to see that is a very special being, but it's always preaching about the shadow, and it's become almost cult-like. Yeah, it's become almost cult-like. Yeah, and so and I know that they actually spoke about being brought up in a cult anyway. And what is the spiritual contract to a teacher that does that? Because I know, Andrew, you are very specific and very anal about not allowing your teachings to be weaponized. But what happens when a whole movement, a whole generation of people become weaponized? What does that do to the teacher itself?
It makes them a weapon. It makes them a weapon.
And karmically involved.
Absolutely. A weapon of mass destruction.
Yes.
And what happens to the teacher who actively de-weaponizes themselves? They remain the teacher.
Yes.
Okay. They remain the teacher. And there's not active explosive devices on me that are going to blow up or pull my suicide vest if it's not my way is the only way.
But there isn't much glitter and gold on that, is there, Andrew? There isn't much sparkle and sunshine. To the right people, there is. To me, there was, as soon as I heard you speak. But it seems to be that it boggles my mind that people go off on these little tangents into this glitter and gold when my ears can hear the frequency of the truth.
Everybody's ears can hear it. It's a matter, do you process it? That's the other thing about a light worker. An amazing ability to deny the facts in front of your own eyes.
Yeah.
In fact, supernatural ability to deny the facts in front of your own self. We've all been there, haven't we?
Yeah, some weird logic going on.
Yeah.
And then some grandmaster of the obvious called the Galactistorian comes on and goes, "Du-du-du-du-du-du. I hate you, historian, for breaking my reality."
How dare you say porn's bad? How dare you?
Yes.
How dare you eat meat?
Yes. Oh God. Oh, I smoke on air. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I will never listen to you or buy another product because you smoked a cigarette and had a Coca-Cola on air. You evil teacher.
And you wore the leather jacket.
Oh yeah. Oh, when I wore the leather with
Leopard
fur.
one.
Yeah,
Oh,
with
that's-
the leather jacket with fur.
That
Oh,
was
boy.
definitely all his entities. It was definitely all his entities. Yeah.
And I've met various people as well who hold women's group. I'm not saying specifically
Yes.
women's group. I'm not trying to. There are some great women's group out there, but there are a lot of people who come into spirituality, create a women's group, and they hate men, and
Yes.
they attract
Yes.
all of these people which hate men. And I've tried to speak to them and connect to them, and there's just this real guard up about letting male energy into it. Really,
You've heard me talk many times with David about some of the female groups that are out there that they're just friends for hire. That's what they end up being.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell how many sessions. I want to start a women's group. No, you need friends.
Yeah.
You need friends. You don't need a women's group. You need friends. Friends can do all sorts of fun things that could have groupish information behind them.
Yeah. I sat with a fire once with one of these type of ladies. And this is when I knew that things had changed for me, because I didn't give an absolute fuck how I was perceived. And someone sat down, and I forgot I was smoking a joint, and I said that love and light is bullshit. And I could just see that this person just instantly just thought, that's it. I was written off completely. And, you know, that they'd never, ever give me another moment of their time ever again. But the wisdom behind those two gestures was subtle, but it was there, you know, and a certain person may have picked up on it, but I just found that very, very interesting. And I myself realized at that point that I'd switched over into the gray.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Or the neutral joke.
Yes.
The neutral joke is a very
Yes.
defensive position.
Yes.
Okay. Because you can have comedy and sacred neutrality. It's
Yes.
not all seriousness.
But you don't care
So-
how you're received. You don't care how you're received.
Okay. So I'll just share. I have.
Go
fun
on, yeah,
sharing.
go on.
There's been a number of sessions, whether they're in personal or online, where there's a distinct change in the conversation where they start hitting on me. And I mean straight up, no doubt in the words that they're saying, they want something more. And I instantly have to come up with a situation and session of saying no, you know, da, 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 da. And then they push it and push it and push it and push it. And what do you think when you push it the third, fourth, and fifth time is going to do to me? Make it think you're a psycho.
Yeah.
A little bit of psycho going on there. Okay? I'm not playing hard to get. Okay.
Ooh, you're playing hard to get.
I'm not playing the game at all.
I like that.
I like it when you
Exactly.
tease.
Oh, I like it when you turn on the roasting energy.
Spit roast.
Yeah, spit roast.
Spit roast and a love child.
Yeah, and a baby Jesus.
Yes. You know, so when that comes up as a teacher, what is the first thing as a teacher's responsibility when a client does that to you?
To
What's
neutralize
the
it.
answer in you and not the light worker answer?
Ooh.
I always tend to just change the subject and try and
That's not
Good.
doing anything responsibility at all.
I say, look, fucking stop it.
I just
So-
say it's not acceptable.
No, you have
I
to
know,
acknowledge
yeah.
what it is
Right. Yeah.
and then give them back acknowledgement of no. What part of no do you understand in such a way that's not going to cause them to trigger and go psycho? Because usually when they're already at that level, rejection's not an option for them. And if you were to reject them, they will mentally, physically, and psychically explode on you. Okay? So you have to let them down nice.
Yes.
I'm on a celibate phase for the next 7 years. Whatever I have to come up with in the moment,
Yes.
or I'm with somebody right now,
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's what I was going to say. It would be unique for each individual, but I'm sure that there would be a way to dispel it I had an instance recently, and this has never happened to me before, when somebody come on to me over Facebook instantly. I've never had that before. And it was an African-American lady who was in the UK, and she was into spirituality, sent me a friend request. She saw that I was online once I'd accepted the friend request, and she said hello, and I said hello back. And she instantly said, "I'm looking for fast sex." And so I looked, so I thought, right, so I looked into her profile, and it was in Colorado or something like this. And I said, "Well, I think you live in Colorado. It's a bit far away for fast sex." And then she said, "No, I'm in the UK." And I think I just quipped something like, I says, "Well, sorry, but I'm not into that kind of stuff, but good luck, and I hope you get on okay, and take care," and then sent her a bunch of flowers, and then deleted her and blocked her. But it was like, there was no point in that moment to ridicule her or to shame her or to put that back on her.
Right.
There was no need for that. It made it a humorous situation that didn't offend anybody.
You see, I get all the titty pictures and the butt pictures
Really,
as an opening now.
Wow.
delete. Those are nice.
Wow.
Delete.
Yeah. Save that one. Delete.
Yeah. No, I don't save none of them.
I'm playing.
I don't, because it's an acceptance of that energy.
Yes, and it'll be constantly in your aura. It'll be in your aura the whole time.
Yes, it'll be in your aura. And then I have sessions where you can palpably feel the attraction energy of that person to me. There's for whatever reason it's happening, and I just have to learn to give that energy back without my attractor factor signature into it.
Yes,
meaning you can give an energy back to them that completes a different part of that circuit and allows them to grow and learn through that too.
Yeah. And so I get a lot of that kind of energy that isn't perverted. It's actually kind of sweet, and for me, I find it charming. And I find it very flattering, and I enjoy working with that energy. It's not something that puts me off. It's something that can be easily transmuted.
Well, there have been, I've talked about sex on the show all the time. And, a lot of times when somebody's projecting on me about their sexual whatever is going on, and I end up having to bring up sexual conversations with them. Okay.
And it can get
Let
hot.
me tell you how challenging that could be.
Yeah, it can get hot.
No, not hot. It can get erotic too fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Erotic too fast.
Yeah. Talk about sex. What?
Exactly.
Say it again, baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to use my ASMR voice? Okay. And then you're like, you got to talk about their sexual dysfunctions. Why you can't stay mounted on a man longer for 7 or 8 seconds because it hurts too much. It's a this, it's a that. It's too much energy. Bullshit. You're just afraid of taking your feminine power and riding it until there's the volcanic eruption.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's another Lightworker myth that I hear over and over again. Sex is bad. And that couldn't be more wrong if you tried. That couldn't be more wrong. Yeah.
That's right. This world needs to get laid more often.
Mm-hmm.
No more blue ball.
And that gives you an extent of how damaging porn is. And I've watched porn before, and how it can.
So imagine if your spirit guides with blue ball. You get them excited. Oh, he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn. Fuck, he didn't learn. He just gave your angel guide a blue ball.
He's like, man, I'm going to go over to next man now. That's going to finish me off. I'm done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Only with you guys can I talk about spiritual blue ball.
So should we get some recovering light workers onto the show?
Sure. You guys run the show. You guys pick who we're going to talk to and everything.
Okay, well, I've got one to start with. So Google Pixel 6. You'll know this young lady, Andrew.
Okay.
Okay. How do we pick? Oyson, are you there? Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey guys,
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
you caught me off guard. They just shut my power off. And this
Oh,
is
no.
not the first time it's happened. I've been in a Zoom listening to Andrew before and my power mysteriously got shut off.
You know, it could also just be rolling blackouts that they have all over the country.
Yeah.
It's not always the men in black fucking with your individual power
No,
grid.
Andrew, but what I've dealt with, can you blame me?
I can agree. Hey, darling, I can absolutely agree.
Mm.
But still, there's a fine line. They're individually fucking with my power grid. Are you that important to them? No.
Oh man.
You're not going to be Lightworkerish, are you, Hussein?
How has it been since the last time we talked on air?
Wow. Let me just say that I have come leaps and bounds since that fateful call on October 6th.
Got some closure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 months,
I
2
mean,
months, 2 days ago.
oh, wow.
Look at that.
Yeah. Things are moving very, very quickly.
So tell us what kind of things did you go through?
Well, I mean, it was great to finally hear from you of all people that, like, you know, I'm not crazy. It wasn't all in my head. And I definitely went through a period of profound healing, but I bounced back really quickly. But you know, I still get targeted, and I fed into the damn paranoia, and you know, I called the cops because of the gang stalking, and then they ended up writing a bogus report on me, and DCF came to take my daughter. So now I'm dealing with a court situation. My ex won't let me see my daughter. You know, it's a mess, and it was really getting to me this past month. But over the course of like this past week, I really just come to terms with it and just focusing on myself, because you know, trying to be part of the collective, it just backfires on me. I'm like, all right, I get it, I just need to work on myself. But you know, I'm still getting targeted and trying to learn how to protect myself. It's a freaking miracle I'm even alive, breathing, talking to you guys right now.
But how much of that projected energy do you feel is getting through to you because you're focusing on it?
Bingo.
A lot of it.
That what you look at looks back at you. And if you keep looking at it through a paranoid state, you've given it a doorway to enter your reality with long-term strategy.
Yep.
You could give it the big fat middle finger. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what I've been doing.
Middle finger is one thing. You have to literally put the chokehold on them and knock them out. Okay, you got to put the fucking triangle death choke on them.
That's what we was talking about, right?
Yeah, or you know, got to put a phallic lock on them, so you know, like turn their penis into a pretzel at the same time you're squeezing their balls until their head explodes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or track back to where they physically are located and start fucking up their realities on the other side. That's what I do. Blow up their technology on there and make sure they're all shitting up a storm for the next 6 weeks. Give them all I give them all dysentery. That's what I do.
Yeah.
All the remote influencing and strike teams, when they target me, is I know each and every one of you all going to be shitting for the next couple months. And I have a record of, you fuck with me, you'll be shitting.
I love that. I'm gonna take a page from you on that one.
Okay.
All potty humor.
But this is interesting subject, because you see, this is another thing that light workers do. Lightworker narrative is blended with conspiracy.
Yes.
And so many light workers feel that because they know what's going on, therefore they're protected, because they're aware of these different layers of manipulation that are going on. Well, the opposite is actually true. The more you focus on these things, the more energy goes towards them, the more comes back at you. If you could, you could probably get yourself into a state where you're not even actually psychically reattacking. Although I would advise that for you. That's what we spoke about, remember? So
Right.
to learn to do that, I would advise that for you. But you could probably get yourself into a state where you just out-create it through your lifestyle, just through the fact that you're like, I'm shutting this all off. I'm not going to give energy and credence to it. I'm going to move in this direction of self-healing. And that could also be enough to just shut those doorways, not allow that in. And this is another myth of the light worker, that being aware of everything that's going on protects you from what's going on. Sometimes you don't need to.
That's why I say your level of awareness is equal to your level of responsibility, and your level of responsibility equal to your level of awareness. And when you have too much information that you can't be responsible to that information, because it changes you so heavily, and therefore you're just an open book to be rewritten by others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you haven't maintained sacred neutral.
So, Darlin, what have been some of the healed parts that you've gone through?
Well, I'd say I realized that a lot of the karmic relationships that I have in my life, this is not our first rodeo. Like,
no,
I know this spans lifetime, and just having the bigger picture now of the oneness, and they're all basically aspects of me, and they know not what they do, really. It's just really helped me not only forgive myself, but forgive them, and focus less on like the pain and trauma that they have put me through, because I see it from a much bigger perspective now. And I realized that like my power is in, my emotions, but like that's also how they get to me. I mean, I'm a Scorpio dragon, dude. You don't want to piss me off. But I realized that like one of the things I really need to focus on is like becoming a master of my emotions and reactions to these people and situations, and know that it's part of my life path to transmute that, and I really only have power over my reactions. So they once they realize that they can't get a reaction out of me, it's like, it's game over.
Is it? If you still have paranoia, how can it be game over if you still have paranoia?
If I still have paranoia, which I haven't been, like, if people really knew my situation, yeah, like I think anybody would be paranoid, but it's lessening and lessening every day. And having that conversation with Matthew the other day, like, was just it definitely changed a lot of things for me. And ever since then, it's past like 24 hours even, I almost feel like a different person.
Because I gave you back your responsibility. That's the thing, you see. This is what Andrew taught all of us, is that it's your responsibility to do these things. And how do you do that? Through your work. Just being aware of this stuff, just knowing your story doesn't actually really do anything.
Right.
And non-reaction is not always sacred neutral. Just because it's non-reaction doesn't make it sacred neutral.
Right.
She's one of my favorite callers.
Well, darling, thanks a lot for calling in and giving us an update.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Speak
You're
soon.
welcome.
Thanks. So
Next
who's
caller.
got their hand up? Sorry, Andrew, go on.
No, go ahead. You guys choose.
Yeah, you pick. Go on, Laura, you pick one.
Okay. Suzanne's come on. Suzanne. There you go. She's unmuted.
Message
How
to
are
her.
Hi
you?
guys.
Hi, how
Oh,
you
good.
doing?
Hi, Suzanne.
Oh my gosh. Hey, I'm the guilty of the regurgitating one. Or I was sit there and I learned something, and I'm a hairstylist at home, so everybody was like, they're stuck for when I would start talking. But I got to tell you, I went through the biggest initiation last weekend on trust. Oh my God. I don't know how I survived it. I don't, you want to hear it. You got to hear the story because it's crazy. We had bought a house in Florida in the craziest of times last year, and we're coming up on a year. And down in Florida is I would call it probably the #1 scam places in the country for scammers. And I have a guy, and his name is Jose. I never met the guy, and he did work for me. But last week, he's got to put this pool heater in for me for next week. And I called him on the phone and I asked him to do it. And he's telling me it's terrible. He went through the hurricane. His house, his wife got in a car accident. His truck was stolen. So he said to me, "You're going to have to give me a hefty deposit for this pool, $3,900." So I thought about it, and I talked to my husband. Friday comes, I waited all week, and I thought, let it go. He calls him and he goes, "I need the money by today." And the only thing I was worried about was getting him the money through my bank account, right? So I got him the money, $3,900, no contract, no receipt, nothing. I sat down Friday night at 5:00, and it hit me like, I don't know, like a ton of bricks on my heart. Oh my God, I gave $4,000 to some guy named Jose in Florida. And I sat with it and I thought, oh my God, I was up all night. My husband comes in the morning. He goes, there's a little bit of red flags. You gave some guy named Jose in Florida $4,000 and we didn't even see a receipt of it.
Oh.
And let me tell you, it set me on such a spiral that I couldn't shake it. And I don't know if you've ever been in those positions where this program just kept running and running and running all day long. So my husband and I agreed that I thought it could go either way. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. And he said, look, we just won't tell anybody we did it. You won't get your pool heater. But I kept thinking in my mind, I just see this thing happening. And my husband's a Debbie Downer. He kept going, we're not getting this money back. I'm not even telling anybody you lost this money. 11 o'clock, I just couldn't. I just was so exhausted. I went to bed. I woke up at 12 o'clock and I thought, I have the tools. There's something going on here. I'm going to ask you, Andrew, how long do you have to go through the pain of integrating something? So I'm at night and I thought, it's 12 o'clock at night. And I thought, oh, I got to do something. I got up and I read your betrayal revocation out loud. And you guys do your fire ceremonies. I do my salt baths in the tub in the middle of the night with a candle. So I put the tub on and I poured the salt in and I put a meditation in, and I got in the tub and I was like, oh, I feel a little better. And I went to bed and I got up. And there's a guy I listen to that does, his name's Steve Nobel. He has great meditations. I probably listened to him for 5 years, and he does one on bank accounts. And my husband brought the coffee up and I thought, I'm going to do this. It was 30 minutes. And I did this bank account revocation on that bank account. And I saw Jose, the guy I gave the money to, the love up at the top. And he's asking you to go through these. He gives you the visual. Let's clear this stuff out. And I saw the trailer park contracts in there. And he says, bring up the contracts. There was like 5 contracts. You rip them up, and then he cleared the whole thing. And the biggest thing for trust with me is my husband and I have been married 36 years, and I've been through so many stages you can't even imagine with the kind of spirituality for 35 years of marriage. And I thought, now's the time to share with him what my journey has been, because in the last 2 years, ever since I met Andrew, I've been brave enough to say, I'm working on myself and being spiritual. And his thing is, just don't be saving me, okay? And don't be healing me. And I thought, now's the time. And it literally cleared that. I felt really good. So I said to him, we went on the trail ride. We went for a walk. I said, I'm ready to tell you about my spirituality, what I've been going through. So we got on the trail and I started explaining everything I've been through in the last whatever. And what you guys learned and the healings. And I told him about what even going through the night before and the contracts and the soul contracts and all these kinds of healings. And it was really inspiring just to be able to share with him what I've been going through. Do you know, it's Friday morning or Monday morning, I woke up, I texted the guy and I said, hey, when does the heater come? And he said, well, I'll go call you at 9 o'clock. It's coming today. I called my husband at 11:45 when the heater showed up down in Florida. He goes, Sue, he said, you trusted a guy named Jose in Florida, the biggest scamming state in the country, and it followed through for you. Oh my gosh. It was huge.
And the lessons learned from those contract revocations, clearing out the dark to not make it making it manifest that way.
Well, and I was going to ask you that because it could have manifested that money was stolen, correct? Those timelines were out there.
Sure, you absolutely could have made the negative timeline come to exist.
Mm-hmm.
I was like in an abyss of a darkness, and I thought this time's to use these tools that I've utilized all these years of all these things. I knew that it was that powerful. I knew that it was that significant. And Laura kept saying the last time we talked, she was talking about trust yourself, trust yourself. What does that even mean? Now I know what the hell that means.
There you go. Now you have an experience to show what trusting yourself means.
Yeah.
And look how your belief, Suzanne, shone through. It's all your belief behind the words. You knew it was going to work before you started out.
And
now you got a pool heater.
Yes, I do.
And a happy husband.
I got a pool heater and a happy husband. And actually, he's trusting me now. He said something, he's very into historic, and somebody's contacting him about his family. And he said, he was looking at these dates and there were birthdays and stuff. I said, yeah, nothing's a coincidence in the world, honey. Nothing just happens to you. And I said, it's all soul contracts. It's really, what I like is I can actually share it with him now, instead of be on my own. But I had to tell you that I know what a spiritual hangover is too. I never knew what the hell that was. I'm still recovering from the weekend. But
spiritual hangovers. Oh boy, is that a unique topic just for light workers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. We go
okay,
down
so is that true or not?
A 5-day over belief bender.
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm gonna win the lotto. I'm gonna win the lotto. I'm gonna win the lotto. Fuck, I didn't win the lotto.
Oh gosh. Well, that's funny. I just felt I've been still exhausted. Today's Thursday. Oh my gosh. Oh, you guys
at least you
fun.
have a heater for your pool now. You can use it.
You have no idea. I'm telling you, I kept the guy showing up. I said, I kept seeing him working. I don't know what it is, honey. I see him working. He thinks I'm crazy, but not anymore.
And look, Suzanne, you've got a new level of belief and a new level of manifestation, and a new level of trusting yourself. How does it get better than that, eh?
Well, what's bad is, not that it's bad. Every time I hit a level, because you have to level up and you can be stuck. And once you level up, it's almost like it's a whole new playing field. So it's a whole new set of rules, wouldn't you say?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. And what is the rule number 1? Trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You will stay on this. You will stay in this field of trusting yourself. Boy, you will learn a lot.
Yes. Yes.
Learn the difference between evolution and forced evolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes forced evolution isn't bad. Sometimes forced evolution is just there to show you that you're not looking in the right direction. You're not making the right choices. You keep avoiding that which you're supposed to look at.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh well. We'll keep on trucking.
Thanks, Suzanne. That was
All right, well,
great
thank you,
sharing
guys.
that. Thanks so much.
All righty.
Okay, should we have Hermina, because she's been there for a while, I
Sure.
think.
Chamina.
Come on in the room.
Oh, guys.
How do you
How
pronounce
you
it?
doing?
I think. How do you pronounce it? I think it's a
Her-
Chaminia. Right?
Herminia and Hermania, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Oh no, I've heard you pronounce it differently.
Okay. Well, you know, it's just a thank you, because when you were talking about in the beginning about the saving the world, becoming working for the light workers, it's made me so laugh because I was there. I lost my my condominium because I was working for the planet. Oh my goodness, that was so crazy. I was like going to the beach for 3 months every morning before I went to work for 2 hours. That was like a race. And I was so motivated because so many people saying, oh, you are working for the planet. We got to save the planet. It was so, and then I was just, kick from one side to the other one. It was so beating up that I lost my face in everything. I have been through a process that almost taking me almost 14 years to recover from that one, from 2010, almost, right? And I started working like 2009 toward my it was my mission to save the planet. And I ending up sleeping in people's couch, eating when other people gave me food. It was homeless from trying to save the planet. It's so ironic. And
The thing is, I mean, but the difference is that the thing is we kind of are. This is the thing with some of the Lightworker stuff, is that there is truth behind the myth, and but the difference between being a functioning spiritual being and a non-functioning spiritual being is how much power you're giving away.
Yes.
If your mission to save the planet means that you have to martyr all of your own energy and give it all away, then you're failing. But if your mission to save the planet means that you have to empower yourself and go to greater levels of awareness and learn the lessons and over the mastery over many years, then you're achieving that. That's the only difference between it. It's that martyrship energy, isn't it? Just giving it all away. My life means nothing, even though I'm the best person on the planet.
Yeah, is that ironic belief system that is impregnated in us, that we're doing for the worst being of the whole planet. And then, I was traveling everywhere, going to Manchester, have sometimes written a year with some money, depending on other people to helping me. It was so crazy that I was completely blind. I was like, wow, I can't believe I was so. And, and ending up in the end, you're helping the people, they become a little better. And then when they're feeling better, then they don't, kick you out because they don't need you anymore. I was so beating out from.
And the interesting thing is that you could have 200 light workers in Sidonia with all of their greatest crystals, creating a ceremony that would be nothing like one person somewhere in a poor place with a baked bean tin full of timber who has a prayer that is powerful and potent and meaningful to that person, something that actually means something. That could mean more than those 200 light workers with all their crystals in a place like Sedona. That's the thing about spirit, is that when you put over credence on certain statistics, you completely lose the point. It's about, is your prayer, is your ceremony and your intention for you and your own growth? And is it a part of your process that you've learned through your evolution? That's what makes all the difference, because it's not taking information from other people. It's when you've been on your journey so long and you've learned so many lessons that your own questions come to you, and then you search for your own unique answers.
Yes. I telling you, I'm having working now back to trust my knowing, because I was so depleted that I was completely lost. And thank you to this Andrews, teaching that helping me to go back to my feet, because I was so depleted. Now every time I feel down, I just take one of those teaching. Last week I was some issues. I took back again the solstice fire ceremony. I was listening, looking every day, and give me the strength go back, because it's a battlefield here. You feel like energized, and something happened, put you down, and then you have to go back. It's like I see like and never ending battle. It's like, what?
Mhm.
What's this? And I was thinking I was already. And, you know, I did the wine that you told me last year.
Oh, yes.
And I have a very 3-gallon of wines. I did it myself. And I have it the whole winter last year. And then I took it out this year. And finally, now with encouragement for this program that you have now, the teaching gave me the courage to take it out, putting that out in my house, in the property for protection, because was it one thing after other happened. I said, let me get this wine out.
Did you keep it?
So protected.
Did you keep it buried that whole time?
I keep it buried for 3 months. I mean, the
3
whole
months.
winters. I took it out on
Did you really?
May or something. I took it out, and now
Fantastic.
last week I put in the house. I put in the forest corner in the property, and I following you guiding us. It's sometimes I have a tour. It's like it's a battle even to this defending myself. You know, it's like wow, ironic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's for me. It's the result of so many experience and so many defeating process I went through. This, you know, saving the planet, that putting me so down that it's like taking a big effort to coming back. Really, to trust. One is one thing to trust. Really challenge.
And I think that, Herminia, one good question which we don't ask ourselves as light workers when we're going down these paths, possibly to nowhere, is Andrew's eternal question: how is that working out for you? Because it's the proof of the pudding is in the eating, isn't it? As a lovely English expression, isn't it, guys? But how is it? How are things manifesting for you? You know?
Well, you mean right now after all this process?
No, just a question to ask yourself as you're going down. You know, some paths go somewhere and some paths don't. So just like Suzanne was with her belief and the work she was doing and the revocation she was reading, she was able to manifest something that she wanted. It's just a question, not just to you now, but generally just using you as an example. Is a great question to ask yourself. A great question to ask.
Yes.
If you're wondering, you know, does this feel right? What are the results I'm getting? Am I getting the results I want without instant gratification?
Yes. Thank you.
And,
really, it's like.
And how does it make you feel, Herminia, when you look back on those other versions of yourself and you see who you are now? What do you feel towards those other versions of yourself?
You know, it's ironic because it pushed me to go deeper and coming up again, because it's like not giving up, and it's like I looking for my research and whatever I have in my hands right now in the moment, just take action and then, you know, overcome whatever it is.
They become teachers, right? They become teachers.
Right.
Even though in those moments we were deluded or something wasn't right, they're teachers for us in the future. And that's the most important thing. And that is what the journey is. That is the journey into mastery. Nothing's wasted.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring you coming on and talking about it, because the more people talk about their story into recovering being a light worker, the more people can feel comfortable coming out and saying, oh yeah, I do have a problem. And that was it for me, was owning it and actually being honest with myself. I did have a problem, and that problem kind of stopped people from really wanting to connect to me. And I lost the essence of being a human through being a light worker. It felt like I de-evolved as a human, and it felt like I was alone. It really was. It was a lonely journey, and I didn't let anybody in. I didn't let my kids in. And now they see me as a different person because I'm human. I make sure they have the same experiences as other kids. I remember I was that obsessed about like sweets and stuff and food. So I stopped my kids from experiencing that. And I had a deaf moment where I was like, I'm damaging them because all of these children are enjoying these luxuries of sweets, trick-or-treating and so on. And I was holding that back from them. So I think it's about stepping out of you for a minute and really looking at areas in your life and how can I go forward and change parts of me? Because we're the living, breathing versions of what we're talking about, Laura, Matty, and yourself, that we've gone through that. And our story can help people fix her own bullshit, and I still have bullshit I work on. Laura always pulls me up, and Matty sometimes on my bullshit, and
the journey
on my
never ends.
Lightworker programs. It's like gotta laugh at them, and like for those out who are getting annoyed, listen to them and triggered. Just you've got to laugh at yourself. I laugh at my weird stuff I do and the Lightworker tendencies I have. You've got to laugh and alchemize it. At the end of the day, the more laughter you have about it, the more easier it is for your growth and so on.
Exactly. And the thing is that, and for all you Americans, when we say sweets, we mean candy. So when that's a big part of it. But the thing is, I went into that zealot mode as well, Dale, but I found an equilibrium. So again, that past version of myself, it did manage to actually clean my body completely. It really did manage to actually purge me. It managed to get to myself completely supple, completely fit. I achieved optimum fitness at one point, completely cleaned my gut. You know, that zealot did a good bloody job. You know? And
yeah.
But then obviously anything on a spiritual journey that we take on can begin to work against us. And this can even be prayer, ceremony, ritual. If you stay stuck into something, and something works in the beginning. I find when I do my meditations, when I record my meditations, it will work for the first few weeks. Then after that, its potency will start to drop. And then eventually, if I don't create a new one that's based on whatever I'm going through, it will start to work against me because I'm still trying to be that past version of myself. And so, you know, it's the same with our practices and with food, things like that. So I still know that not to take it too far. I'm still aware of what's healthy and what isn't. I'm still aware of what's good for my body and what isn't. And I try to do the best I can, but I'm also aware that I'm here to experience pleasure as well.
Yeah. And that's beautiful. That option of having, say, when I allowed them, so we go trick-or-treating and stuff, and they are allowed treats every so often, I'll buy them some chocolate, still being aware of obviously the damage you can do with obviously overdoing it, but they can still experience it in times and they can really cherish those experiences. So it's about learning balance. And like the name of my business, I remember when I created Symmetry of Health was because I remember Andrew saying I needed to change the name of my brand. I was sick of it. I didn't like it. And he goes, write down your whole entire story of your journey of what it took to be where you are today. And I written everything about it. Then all of a sudden I went, it's Symmetry of Health, because you've got to find balance within fucking health, because some health isn't health. And there's an aspect to it where you've got to kind of have one bit balanced and the next bit. And it's just a journey of always trying to balance it out and not going too high. But we're here to make the mistakes. We're here to experience those as well.
Which is the difference between a spiritual being and a light worker. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks
very much, Avinia. Thank
Mhm.
you. Who should we have, guys?
Do we have any more hands up?
We do. We've got two.
Oh yeah.
Cynthia, giving you the signal to unmute.
Aloha from the Big Island.
Aloha.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. I just saw that you guys were on live. I wanted to jump in and say hi. And what do I have to say about the Lightworker topic? Well,
from Hawaii point of view.
Yeah. We should be good.
We have two active volcanoes erupting at this time and snow on the Mauna. It's definitely an alive, energizing time to be here.
There's some dragons having fun.
Yeah. It's so yeah, I really just called to connect in. You know, I've been working a lot. I had a private session with Andrew during COVID, and he said, "Oh, you're supposed to," or this is my words, like, "you're there to open a retreat center." And I thought, "Oh, I'm just too tired." Anyway, I got my license and and I've just been overwhelmed with like therapy clients because we are short on, and yes, but like too many. You know, I think I saw more than 1,000 sessions this year. And I made big money. And
I gave you some good advice.
You did.
I gave you some good advice, didn't I?
I did. Yes. I've made big money, but I'm tired. You know, I'm depleted. I can feel it. And then I'll just share like a person. I had a personal heartbreak, like an old sponsor, 12-step sponsor, come here, and her and my lover connected, and she was sneaking out and betray. Anyway, I felt like she didn't. I just my deep betrayal of like childhood trauma got triggered, but I never even, like, you know how I found out? That remote viewing, like the earlier thing. I've always been able to have my own information, and I knew something was going on. I started feeling psychotic, right? Like, oh my God, jealous, and like all these old feelings. And I just said, you know, sit tight, you'll understand it more in a bit. So as it just, you know, it just came out. And anyway, I'm trying to take a bigger route. Oh, maybe this is the light worker. I'm trying to take the bigger route, right? Often if people would come into me and they would have this heartbreak, I would say, oh, just we move into forgiveness, for it's better for our bodies. I would say you don't want to hold on to that hurt. It burns. And
try telling that to a woman who's just been cheated on by their long-term husband.
Exactly. Oh my God, exactly. I want to fucking torch cars and like hire people. And like, so last night in my dreams, it's the full moon. And anyway, they still connect. She still flies over here from the mainland. I disconnected, and I've done boundaries. I have jars of salt, and I don't say the names, and I do everything, like not even to talk about it anymore, to move it. But last night in my dream time, I beat her up. I'm about to be 57 years old. I don't engage in violence. I've only been in one fight in my whole life.
Your
but
dream
in
was
my
infinite.
dream, and before my session with Andrew, I met him in my dream time. He was in some fancy resort waiting, like, but not wanting to talk to anybody. He was needing his own space. Anyway, so yeah, in my dream, I was trying to beat her up, and it was like I wasn't hurting her physically, but just the energy was there. I was knocking and knocking, but it was like slow-mo. And it was something like, you think you can come over here and just pretend nothing happened? Anyway, I want to transmute. I want to keep moving this energy on, because.
So have you had a relationship since then?
Well, do you mean a sexual relationship with another person?
Yeah, even a jump.
Yes.
No, I haven't. He's the only person I've had.
That's your next victory.
Oh, I know. You're right. Yes, yes.
And the longer you wait, the harder it will be.
Yeah. All right.
That's why you're beating her up in the dream, because she's still getting laid and you're not.
Oh, I'm so mad about it, because truthfully, there's another part of me that's like, they're adults, like, get over yourself. Like, it's because of who she was to me, and it triggered my primitive stuff. Okay. I mean, that's a good, I did get invited to this like New Year's Eve cuddle thing that has all these different parts to it. There may be somebody that piques my interest there.
What do you think about it, Andrew?
I would never enter a cuddle puddle. No. This is me.
Take the light worker out.
No cuddle puddles.
Yeah,
with strangers.
In the water.
The hippie muddle cuddle puddle is disgusting. You need to go out and get properly laid by someone who's attractive, imaginative, funny, charismatic. Go on the search. Look for somebody that's Mr. Right Now. Get laid, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
Make sure those toes go twisty into the high into the air.
Don't let them stop. Don't let them finish. Say more.
All right. Well, that sounds like a beautiful challenge.
Turn on the iron clamp and ride.
Yes. Can do.
Engage the thighs.
Yes, can do. All right. Well, thank you. It was nice to connect with you guys.
Good luck.
Well, it's great to hear that you had thousands of clients.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Do good work, everyone.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, Down. Thanks a lot for calling in.
That's great.
Enjoy the sex.
Okay, we've got one more hand up. Integrated Alchemy. Do you want to unmute?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Who are we talking to? Where are you
This
from?
is
I know this voice.
Who is it, Dale?
I can hear your voice.
It's your long lost lover. I'm here to get laid.
Well, you've
That
come
was
to
last
the
week's
right
show.
place,
That was last
Trent.
week's show. Not this week's
All right. I came in too late. My bad. What's up, guys?
You all right, Trent?
Listen, I want to talk about what Dale was talking about the militant light worker. Oh my God. I was a militant light worker, right? And what it did was basically it turned me against everybody who wasn't, at this level of awareness, blah, blah, blah. And basically it just pushed everybody away. It made me really militant. It made me like basically fuck everybody else. Nobody wanted to work with me. And I noticed that, but I still see like a lot of people that has so much potential to help, but they're so militant with their messages and they're just so focused on the domination and control agenda. And it's like, I was there, dude. I can really relate to that.
Can you imagine from Andrew's perspective when he looks into people and you can see these people that are weaponized, but that he can see what they came in with, the mission they came in with, and how many lifetimes it's taken them to get to that charismatic point. How just it must be just
right, frustrating as fuck
Yeah.
when you're talking to a zealot who will not hear, but their way is the only way, and I gotta crack their ego. All right, let me get the nutcrackers out.
Yeah.
To make sure every spiritual blue ball moment you've had at once is coming all at once. You have no questions that I will answer.
Yeah.
Dude, and the thing was like, it was all this curiosity learning. I would learn something new and surface level learning. Like I would not understand it on a deep level. I would just learn it, and then I would basically use it against everyone. That's exactly what I did.
Yes. Weaponized. Yes.
Oh, you blah blah blah. Meanwhile, I'm the exact same way like 2 or 3 months ago. Didn't know shit, right? And I'm just coming at all these people for not knowing stuff. So it was basically surface level learning that caused a lot of that,
And once again, the failures of surface learning and curiosity learning are exactly what I've described over and over again. But so many people, but I like curiosity learning. There's nothing wrong with it until you learn the damage that it does long term.
It does, because it leads you down a lot of trails and it wastes a lot of energy that you could use on yourself. Will you find out shit? Yeah, of course. But will you waste a lot of energy in the process? Absolutely. And that's exactly what I did. I just wasted a lot of energy trying to figure out things outside of myself to understand myself. Literally the complete opposite of what I should have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've found out that as you start learning about yourself, what happens is you learn about things outside of yourself. It's really crazy how it happens.
And those things outside of yourself then reflect to you the things inside of yourself that are using the things outside of yourself against yourself.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy loop.
But it shows you your own sacred perspective, though.
Now imagine being me. Hey, how you doing? What do you want to get out of a session today? And the first thing I see is that. An enigma wrapped in a conundrum of fucked upness.
Yeah.
Okay? And I got to peel it back layer by layer, patient as fuck. I'll share with you in jest now. But now you can see why 10 years of doing callers has made me a very unique spiritual interrogator.
Yeah. As I know.
Yeah. As you have been interrogated before.
I actually love it, though. I love it. It helps a lot. It helps a lot because it gets to the depths of shit. It's not just all love and like, oh, you'll be okay, blah, blah, blah. No, it's actually fucking work that has results. So thank you for your spiritual interrogation.
But not only that, sometimes the fear of his interrogation preempts you to interrogate yourself. Because I'm like, no, next time I speak to him, I want to have this figured out. I'm not going to let him just like interrogate me and bring it out. I want to do it myself, you know? So it kind of, it prompts that interrogation, that self-interrogation. It's not even that difficult to do sometimes.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and you reach a decision in yourself. You're like, okay, like I could try to bullshit. One, he's gonna know I'm bullshitting.
Exactly.
Two, it's literally gonna do nothing for me. So like, I might as well just be completely honest and just do it. So, I also want to talk about Maddie. Whenever you said how discipline works against you, dude. Anything can work against you, right? If it's not adjusted and it's long term, because what happens is it becomes an obsession. And it's the same thing with the fitness journey for me. Like, you know, it was working for a while. Like I was doing this, I was working out, I was eating healthy. Dude, I didn't have a fucking snack for 4 years, bro. 4 years. Like, and you know, that worked, but at some point I'm like, dude, I just want to eat a fucking honey bun. And I ate a honey bun and it was okay. Like life still went on, you know, but it is true that, you know, these disciplines and these structures that you have in your life can definitely work against you if you don't have that awareness and
even
and
your
you don't
deepest and greatest prayers can work against you eventually. If you're not in a state of evolution and you become static and you're putting too many specifics, one of the greatest things come out of Star Wars is absolutes are the way of the Sith. When you bring absolutes into your prayer process, when you say, this is what I want and only this is what I'll be happy with, your prayers become weaponized. And I learned that the hard motherfucking way. I'll be honest with you, right? The hard way. Yeah.
Dude,
and that goes for any process. If you're doing it and you're saying, I'm doing this because I want this particular result and it's specific, then you limit what you can get, because the universe might have guided you towards that for a specific reason. But who are you to say what that specific reason is? Who are you even to say that there is a specific reason? Maybe it's just what's going to create a frequency that will allow you to evolve even greater. But we see things in absolutes, these small, tiny, little, minute details. And it works against you. That's the point. It's not that discipline works against you. It's that your own self works against you by weaponizing your disciplines.
Well, it's when you're doing, say, over 90 minutes regularly on yourself, it becomes obsession, doesn't it? It goes from the state of sacred to obsession, and I've been there.
If you can't let go.
Yes. And switching off as well, which is something I deal with still, being able to switch off. And I do have that one day to switch off. And I talked to you about this, Trent, yesterday, didn't we? We had a chat about how important that day is to switch off and just focus on something beside the journey, because sometimes it does get a bit too much and overwhelms us and works against us.
You need
and when
change.
When you go long periods of time without true days of rest, days off, days to where you're not contemplating, you're just doing shit that's fun for yourself, you lose the power of the innocent inner child. You absolutely lose it. Over these last couple of weeks, I've had my own unique sets of ups and down challenges of what's going on behind the public life. But I've dealt with those. But part of that is a death of someone. Robert, our former producer, he's got cancer and he more than likely will not survive. I've known him, 7+ years. But I've also put a time aside to mourn for him and to keep up hope that there's never give up. But then there's that innocent inner child in me who knows that I need to mourn, who knows that I need to do this, knows, and just patiently waiting for his opportunity. And these last couple of days for me was bringing my inner child forward and playing in such a creative way with that inner child that I had something to show for it. And for me, that's story writing. and I decided to create a new story. Well, I'm using the same world that I've created, but a new character, a new idea, and a new thing, and getting it to the next level and the next level and the next level and the next level. And over the period of 4 days, I wrote 27 pages. Okay, 27 pages. How many people out there say they're a writer, but don't write more than 1 page a year? Okay, what makes you be a writer?
The passion, right?
The content you produce.
It's many times you've had people on, like artists as well, Andrew, and you ask them how many paintings have they done in the past few
In a
years,
year.
and they've done like one.
Or none.
Guilty.
Right. I'm an artist.
I'm an artist,
How many
but I don't
paintings?
fucking
How many
do it, yeah.
paintings have you done? I haven't done a painting in 10 years. So why the fuck are you calling yourself an artist?
Swear.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to be an artist.
So many people
Right.
believe that inspiration comes only from the lighter side of life, but it's just not the way it is. The inspiration comes from whatever is in your field at the moment.
Exactly. It's whatever's in your moment.
Yeah, I think it's so important to just, like, as far as myself, like, I've forgot how to be human sometimes, just getting so wrapped up in the spiritual stuff. Like, I just forget to do regular shit, man. Like, we forget to take those days off, or we forget to go and play and, like, not have responsibility. Like, we need those times to keep going, so we don't get caught in these obsessive cycles, or we don't start cycling backwards. And I've took that in consideration a lot lately. Like, I've been taking a lot more time off. I've been just switching up my routines, doing different things, not being so one way, because in a lot of ways I am absolute, and I've got away from that, because the absolute is a weapon. It really is.
That's not a vodka. Not just a vodka.
Yeah.
Not just the vodka. That's everything, bud.
And what you were just talking about, Trent, that is the difference between a master and a light worker, is that you could meet a master in the street and not even know you've just met a master. But you could meet a light worker in the street and you would fucking know you've just met a light worker.
Yeah, because they're trying to
Reiki master.
They're trying to shove their philosophy down your throat.
Yeah.
Well, the glitter and rainbows and butterflies in their aura is a big giveaway too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
how many times I've had to clear off unwanted glitter. Stop exposing me with your glitter, damn you fuckers!
I had that.
I don't want your fairy dust.
Right. One man's glitter is another man's spectral shit.
Yeah.
When I did my first, I helped a lady out. I did the training with probably around about 2013, and it was like a spirit show fair in Harrogate. And there were so many people who just said the same thing before they give you the name, tell you they're a Reiki master. And before you've even met them, they just tell you, just to let you know, I'm a Reiki master. And
I'm a Reiki master and a shaman practitioner, and I do angel healing, and I channel Archangel Michael. And my name's Joe.
And I tickle God's balls for inspiration.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's
he's a baller.
A mad lady was going around with a pendulum with the crystals, like, no, this.
Yeah.
I was just watching it. She grabbed my shit. I was like, get off my shit, bitch.
The worst is when you get the pendulum lady next to the penis. Is it gonna get up? Not with that pendulum there.
That is the pendulum.
That is the pendulum.
Yeah.
Get it
that
right.
Is the pendulum. So let's talk about how your energy is actually your power, right?
Okay.
Because
your energy is your actual power. Enough said.
Yes. Enough said. Enough said. And
what energy? What energy? Hold on. What energy is not your power?
Yes.
What energy is not your power?
Yes.
I'd imagine that it would be outside energy, outside influences.
Even if it's a part of your own self, externally influencing you through a shard.
I mean, there's give and take for everything.
In the background.
But fuck. I don't know. Just give me the answer.
Oh, instant gratification now.
Now, please.
That's
fuck
that
this.
Lightworker bullshit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just tell me.
Give me that
Ask
shit.
Amanda. Ask Amanda. I can hear her in the background. Amanda, what do you say?
All right, babe. Go ahead.
That it's your inner moth here.
Exactly. So
Trying to focus your energy in the wrong place.
Right.
giving away power to exterior things.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I realized that because I had a lot of energy invested in other people, right? Guilty Lightworker thing. I was so wrapped up in other people's journey, right? That I was just drained. I didn't have the energy for myself to do my own thing. And then when they wasn't doing what I expected them to do in my head, it would drain me even more. How about that shit? How about that? Straight BS. So basically,
classic Lightworker fucked in the head.
yeah. So
how does it feel to
know,
skull fuck yourself?
It cool at first, but after 1,300 times, it's a little monotonous.
You're just tired of coming on your own ears.
Yeah.
Not hearing it.
Matty, a multi-dimensional
Did I say that
dildo.
out loud?
Throwing a multi-dimensional dildo at yourself.
Yeah. Also with the unsolicited advice, how we can give our power away with that, right? Whenever there's not the equal exchange, whenever we're giving away these insights or whatever to people who don't ask them, people who don't want them, we're just literally handing our energy out, not getting shit in return.
It's
How
worse
many
than
of us
that.
are guilty
It's
of
worse
that?
than that. It's worse than that. It's stepping on somebody's journey. You might as well walk up to them and punch them in the face.
Yep. And that's the other side of that too.
Now, I've done this before. I remember I was at a festival one time and I was doing archery. This is insane. We had an archery range in the middle of a big rave. And
that's
Jesus
dumb.
Christ.
Yeah,
What the
fuck? It was right opposite the main stage as well. And this was me and another guy who ran it. And I remember there was a young security girl there, and we started to talk about the reptilians and things like this. And, she was bringing up all of these conspiracy theories. And I said to her, yeah, that's real. It's true. But before that, we built a rapport. So she trusted me. And so when I said to her, yeah, this is true, I watched her reality just crack. And I watched her just go into fear. And I remember I might as well have just physically hurt that woman, She was only a young girl. And I won't forget that one. That's when the idea of stepping on another's journey really solidified for me, because I realized the subtleties of that and what it actually means.
And
Yeah,
that's
dude.
what
And it can come in so many different forms too. That's
Yes.
why we really got to be aware of that.
And a big light worker program is having a wife or having a partner and trying to push your own shit onto them. And that's something I've learned from being married for quite a while now, is letting go of trying to push on to change her. Before in 2013, I did try and push spirituality on her a little bit.
Well, you're not going to ascend with me. We're going to be split up. You'll be in the old earth and I'll be in the new earth.
But now
you
I
need to
accept
catch
her.
up.
I accept her for who she is, and I don't want to push any spirituality on her. I accept her journey for what it is and respect it fully. And now that part of me's changed, where I was always trying to give her healings. Oh, I bought you this session. I've done this. And
I'm glad you said that, Maddie, because I've really been learning that with the children, with our kids, because we can force some of our spiritual shit onto them as well and step on their journey.
Trust me, the children will out spiritual you without even breaking a sweat. For them, it's so natural, it's so easy that they'll just bust straight through your bullshit. And it's not them trying to be spiritual, it's them being children.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can give our energy away to them as well, being so caught up into their journey.
Can you imagine what it's like for a child that's going through proper trauma or that's really confused, and somebody gives them Lightworker bullshit? You know what it feels like for another adult. Whereas a child, can you imagine how confusing that is when you sugarcoat something so traumatic, something so confusing?
It's even worse than just going through the trauma by itself.
Yeah, it's a total insult.
it adds a completely different complexity, and it confuses them even more because they have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
There's double guilt, a double helping of guilt with loads of sprinkles all on top of it. Thank you very much. There you go. Now you're never going to survive.
Yeah. And then they feel like shit because they see you happy and they don't even understand these concepts. And it makes shit worse, man. It really does.
The amount of light workers which have an ideology about food and give it to the kids and they end up really fucking damaging them.
The amount of
they grow up without protein or energy or anything, and they don't actually realizing they're impressing this onto the kids.
I've seen people who, you know, go to Shakti dances and these groups and that groups, and then in their own home, everybody's a vegan, which basically means that they eat potatoes and shit, you know, and so is the cat. I mean, that's fucking incredible. You know, it just like even
they have a vegan cat too.
Yeah, even the fucking cat.
And then they'll give you that bullshit of the longest living cat ever is 45 and it's a vegan. That's always a one validation there.
The cats are literally the cats are literally don't come home because they're just rocking everybody else's doors trying to find some meat. That's what they do.
They're like, I'd rather be a stray cat. Fuck this.
Yeah, I'm not a vegan. I'm gonna go and bust on Mike next door.
I didn't sign up for that.
I'm just gonna shit on your floor all the time.
Yeah, and meow in your face at all hours of the night.
Yeah. Cat's begging for a mouse to come
I'm gonna
house.
exactly meow out you all night long. No one's ever gonna sleep. Meat. Exactly.
Funny.
Now, how many of you have actually met a family with a vegan family with a vegan cat?
Yes,
I have.
Yes.
How was the state of that cat? How'd that cat feel?
Oh, cat was miserable.
They
Was
left.
fucking miserable.
Yeah.
He's looking and telling Andrew like, fucking help me, man.
Yeah. This is an indoor cat.
Oh no. Well, the ones that I saw, they just left. They just wouldn't come home because they were going out looking for food.
Yeah. The cat was miserable. I don't want to say the family was miserable. They weren't really miserable. They were just, I don't know how to put it. Had protein haze.
Malnourished.
Protein haze. That's a t-shirt right there.
Yeah.
The cat was so pissed he stopped purring. He said the family's not getting any healing anymore.
It's a trauma on a cat. It's a trauma, a full-on trauma.
Yeah, because they're masters too, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Unentangled observer masters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
When your cat stops purring, you know you fucked your cat up. It's a bad joke. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, guys, let's call it an end to the show today. I have had one long fucking day that started.
Yeah, me too. Me too, man.
Before we close, Laura, do you want to give everyone the news about the new product?
Yeah, so we have, in light of doing these Lightworker shows, we have a new product under the title Recovering Lightworker. So we have t-shirts and baseball caps and drinking flask, etc. And
GH merch.
Yes, our merch. And it's on, you can find it at twofeathersmedicine.com/shop. So go there and have a look, see if there's something you fancy. And also I think we have in the wings a 12-step recovering Lightworker program that we
That's
are
brilliant.
as
brilliant.
we speak.
We've had some fun creating some shit for it. That's
exactly.
So there we go. So last words from anybody, Andrew?
Yep. If you need to reach any one of us three here, then twofeathersmedicine.com, you'll find the links if you want a session with either Laura, Dale, or I. And Andrew, well, he speaks for himself.
You guys are interested in having sessions with me? I go up until the 15th of December before I take time off. My January and February is filling up very fast. So if you want to get opportunities to have private time and talk with me, now is that opportunity to do it before it fills up. And one more thing, the holidays are coming. Don't let them overwhelm you. Embrace them. let go of your Lightworker holiday bullshit, and just make good memories.
Yeah,
It's not
just
about the
spend
baby
time-
Jesus. It's about family.
That's right.
Yeah, you need a good dose of common sense.
Yeah.
A good dose of turkey as well.
And that.
Deep fried
and
turkey.
that. Anything else, Dale? So have we covered everything?
I think we've covered it.
We'll be here next week, won't we?
And we'll be finalising as well the Scotland trip in summer next year. Just waiting for a final date, and as soon as that date's out, the information will be out for booking on and so on. I think that's it.
Check us out, Laura.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming on. We'll
All right,
see you all
Joel.
next week.
All right, Joel, take us away.